Hey, help support the show by joining the Patreon or becoming a YouTube member. Also hit that like button to subscribe if you want more Cavs-focused content.
So this was a game from Joe Flacco that we talked about. We all knew was possible from Joe, right? As much as Joe was capable of big games and throwing big passes when he was here, those 6 weeks in Cleveland, some of the other stuff that people forgot that Joe was most certainly capable of was turning the ball over and having a ugly performance. In this game, most certainly was a ugly performance from Joe Flacco. Definitely not the kind of game that he had wanted in his return to Baltimore. Let's get the numbers on this game specifically. It was 25 of 45, 55.6 completion percentage, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Really doesn't do that stat line justice because the 1 interception was awful, and then he also had a fumble loss that got recovered by Roquan Smith, of all people, and scored for a touchdown. It was a bad day for me, man. It was a bad day for me, my anti-Roquan Smith agenda. All the stuff went wrong for the Cleveland Browns in the second half of this one specifically. Thought in the first half of this game, the Browns defense came out strong. I thought that the Browns defense for most of this game put up a pretty valiant effort against the Ravens. The Ravens, for the longest time, the score was like 2010. Well, not even 2010. It was like 13-3. Ravens had 10 points off of special teams mishaps, right? A missed tackle leads to a huge return by LeJontay Wester that turns into 3 points for the Ravens. And then a blocked punt turns into the Ravens' only touchdown in the first half. Everything else, the Browns were able to shut down defensively. We get into the third quarter. Thought the Browns did a good job defensively against the Ravens. Fourth quarter, once it became clear that the Browns were not going to stop the faucet on the turnovers, were not going to support the defense, the effort I don't know if the effort went down. I mean, the Ravens just were getting more time to throw. You give Lamar Jackson more time, more opportunity, and Lamar Jackson is going to hurt you. He's one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. He's one of the best quarterbacks in NFL history, right? You give a guy like that time to throw, it's going to be a bad day for you. Look, we all know that the Ravens coming into this game were the favorites. I didn't think they would cover 14.5. They'd more than cover. They kicked our ass today. You got to give credit to the Ravens where credit is due. I thought Baltimore's defense, tremendous effort. Specifically, somebody I've made fun of a lot because I don't think he makes this effort every week. But this week, most certainly, Roquan Smith was dominant in this game. 4 quarters, made big plays. Certainly, right? I have nothing negative to say about Roquan Smith after this game because he's forced it. I can't say anything bad about somebody who played as well as Roquan Smith did in this one. So shout out to the Ravens defense. They played really well. They made things really hard for the Browns offense. And the difference between the Browns offense and the Ravens offense is simple. The Ravens have a quarterback who, when things are made difficult, he can rise to the occasion and make big plays because he's Lamar Jackson. He's top 3. He's one of the best quarterbacks in football. You can make his life difficult. He can still put 40 on you. Browns did everything to make Lamar frustrated in this one. Successfully made Lamar frustrated. He still 4 touchdowns on you because he's that damn good. The Browns quarterback is Joe Flacco. Now, even in Joe Flacco's prime, if you played great defense against Joe Flacco, you made life really difficult for Joe, you get a game like this from Joe Flacco, right? Like, whether Joe was 40 or not, this is the kind of stuff that's always been possible against Joe Flacco, and why ultimately the Ravens themselves decided to go from Joe Flacco to Lamar Jackson. Before we go any further, I want to thank my sponsor for today, Sleeper.
Sleeper is the #1 fantasy sports app. It pays to know sports. Pick more or less on top players. Your first pick is on us, so start winning now. Play in Texas, Georgia, Minnesota, and 27 more states. Pick anytime across all sports, pregame or live. Over 10 million players are already on Sleeper. Make your picks count. Score up to 1,000 times your cash. Join today. Get up to $100 credit using the code WORSTTAKE. Call your shot on Sleeper. Download now.
Now, here's the issue that the Cleveland Browns have, right? Because I know people are going to fixate on Joe Flacco and say to themselves, we need to bench Joe Flacco or we need to put somebody else in just because Joe Flacco was terrible in this game. And I'm not going to disagree with you. Joe Flacco was terrible in this game. I think the problem for the Cleveland Browns is that they're axing way too much out the quarterback position for a team that does not have a great quarterback on this team right now, right? As far as we know, none of these quarterbacks are Josh Allen, are Lamar Jackson, are Patrick Mahomes. But we're axing Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson level stuff from the quarterback position, and that's not going to lead to a lot of wins this season, right? If you can't lower the axe of this quarterback room, I don't care who it is that's thrown out there, they're not going to be successful. You know, you go out there, you ask Dylan Gabriel to throw 45 times against a defense like the Baltimore Ravens, it's going to be ugly. If you go out there and ask rookie Shedeur Sanders to throw the ball 45 times versus that Baltimore defense, the way they were playing, it's going to be ugly. The Browns don't have the personnel at quarterback to get away with having to throw the ball almost 50 times today. Now, the rushing numbers might fool you if you only look at it in the box score, right? 22 carries, 114 yards from the run game, and 5.2 yards a carry. You might look at that and say, hey, the Browns ran the ball well today. It's not really true, right? Quincy Junkins, I think he got a 31-yard run off in garbage time of this game. If you take that 31-yard run off, what does that then turn into, right? 21, let me do the math here really quick, right? 114 minus 31. We're talking about 83 total yards, 21 carries, 395 a carry. That's mediocre. It's not good. So, yeah, it looks a lot better because you got some chunk plays at the end of that. That's the only one chunk play. I think the Browns got like a lot of rushing yards on that final drive. A lot of that drive was running the ball because Dylan Gabriel only had 20 yards passing in that drive. So, obviously, most of that production came from the ground. So, yeah, the running numbers, don't let that fool you today. The Browns didn't run the ball well. Dylan Sampson averaged a yard and a half today, scored a touchdown again in garbage time as a receiver, but wasn't very impressive. I thought Quincy had some moments, but clearly looks like a player who hasn't played football in a while, needs to work his way back. Had those moments where you saw him look like Quincy Junkins in the late part of this game, but the Ravens weren't really giving a damn at that point, right? And I know Dylan had a nice throw at the end of this game. Again, the Ravens didn't care if we scored or not. They were already up by like 30 points at that point there. Jerome Ford, I thought, actually did run the ball well today. He was 5 yards a carry. I thought he ran the ball the best out of all the running backs that the Browns ran last week. And I know, people were giving Jerome Ford shit last week. This is why you don't just make decisions off of 1 week of football. Thought Jerome ran the ball well. We'll see what he does for the rest of the season. A disappointing day, I think, for Jerry Jeudy. The stats aren't going to reflect it. 4 receptions, 51 yards. But 8 targets. I thought he had 2 legitimate drops in this game. And just didn't get open as much as I think he wanted to get open today. Harold Fannin was fine, 5 receptions, 48 yards. David Njoku, about what I expected from him, 4 receptions, 40 yards here. Look, if you want to know what went wrong in this game, Jerome Ford had 5 receptions for 23 yards. And, it's not like that's a bad number. But Jerome Ford getting the ball 5 times when he's a check down option most of the time, 6 targets in this game, that tells you that they were able to clamp down everything because his run game wasn't successful. If this run game cannot become a threat, this offense is going to struggle because they're not equipped at quarterback to throw this ball 50 times. It doesn't matter who plays. that quarterback's not going to be set up for success when they have to throw the ball 48 times. Obviously, in those 48 attempts, Joe Flacco could have made better decisions, and this could have been much, much less worse. I'm not debating that. Joe was terrible in this game. But any quarterback put in that situation is still not going to be put in a situation to beat a guy like Lamar Jackson when you can't get this ground game going. So that's really got to be the focus. The Browns got to get a real ground game going before they get out this 6-week stretch. And look, we know this 6-week stretch was going to be brutal in the preseason. Before the Green Bay Packers traded for Micah Parsons, we always understood that this 6-week stretch would be brutal. I know some people want to put in Dylan Gabriel right now just because they're mad at Joe Flacco for shitting it up today. But the way I think about it, nothing's changed from the spring. I'm not putting a rookie quarterback, no matter who they are, out there intentionally in the first 6 weeks this season. You play Green Bay next week. You play Detroit in Detroit after that. You play Minnesota, and then you play Pittsburgh. I'm not putting a rookie quarterback in those situations. And if you're the Browns in these first 6 games, you really got to find a way to get 2 wins. You lead this 6-game stretch 2-4, I think you have a chance to make something of the season if you can get out this stretch 2-4. If you can't get out this stretch 2-4, then I think you're going to have a very difficult time making anything of this season as far as even looking like you might be able to compete for a playoff spot or being competitive at the end of the year. The schedule lightens up after these first 6 weeks, but these first 6 weeks, they're brutal. They're just as brutal as we thought they were going to be. Green Bay's better than we thought they were going to be. That's who's up next. The first 3 weeks of the season, you're playing probably, 3 top 10 quarterbacks? Maybe even you can say 4 top 10 quarterbacks if you include Jared Goff in that run. So it's going to be tough for this defense. The offense has to make their life easier by being more successful on the ground. I think also, look, I'm not going to blame the defense for losing this game at all. But I will say that the defense has things that they can improve on as well, right? And again, not blaming the defense. Obviously, the reason the Browns lost the game today, bad special teams play, not by the kicker, but by coverage units and, like pump block team. So bad special teams play, bad offensive play really drove this loss. But if you're looking at things for the Browns defense to improve, they got to get a turnover in a game like this, right? We know that the Browns' ability to score against a team like the Ravens is going to be difficult. You're going to need help from special teams. You're going to need help from your defense. Now, your special teams didn't help you score at all today. They actually helped the Ravens score today. So you're already in a bad spot. There were so many times in this game where they got a tip ball off or an opportunity to get a turnover, punch the ball loose from Derrick Henry, force a fumble, and we just couldn't do it. For this defense to be able to carry this team to a positive record this year, given the fact that we don't have a quarterback right now, we're going to need this defense to capitalize on turnover opportunities. We're going to need this defense to be very opportunistic, and we're going to need this defense to be more than very good. Right? Today they were very good, and very good got your ass beat. We need this defense to be elite, and an elite defense gets turnovers. The Ravens in this game got turnovers, right? Browns, fumble, quarterback fumble, they turned it into a touchdown. Interception, they turned it into a touchdown. Ravens, 14 points off turnovers. Their defense played better than your defense. Now, their job was a lot easier. The Ravens' job was asked to stop a bad run game in Joe Flacco. That's a lot different than being asked to stop Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson. Yes, their job was harder, but they made the plays. They got the turnovers. They were more opportunistic than the Cleveland Browns. And ultimately, the Browns were not opportunistic defensively in this game. There were multiple opportunities for interceptions. There were multiple opportunities to get a fumble. They didn't get those opportunities. They weren't opportunistic enough. Now, That's not what cost you this game. It could have made the game closer, but it's not what cost you this game. But it could have made this game more competitive. And when a game is competitive, who knows what can happen, right? Again, we're not just asking the Browns defense to be good this year. We're asking them to be great. We're asking them to be elite. And this was not an elite performance by this defense, especially in the fourth quarter where you gave up 3 straight touchdown drives, 110-play, 66-yard drive when the game was still relatively close. Like what happened in the third and fourth quarter this game just can't happen for this defense. And you got to get more turnovers. Again, not going to blame the defense for this game because for most of this game, deep into the third quarter, until the Joe Flacco interception, the score was 3-13. The Browns had ample opportunity to score and make this happen. This ain't on the defense, but if we're looking for things to improve, those are things that could improve here, right? And it's a delicate line to balance because I want to be critical of the Browns offense for not being good, not executing, while also not dismissing the fact that the Ravens have a really good defense. But somebody's got to make a play, right? And in a situation like that, that's where I look at a dude like Jerry Jeudy and I'm disappointed. That's where I look at, for somebody else to step up and be a difference maker, right? Again, the problems the offense has are just so glaring right now that we're not going to get to some of the other stuff here. But defensively, we're seeing that thing that we worried about during training camp, during the offseason, which is the slot corner not being great post Martin Emerson injury. That injury really left a hole in the secondary that I think they're having a really, really hard time filling because Cam Mitchell's not up to the task. Miles Harden is not up to the task. That's where the Ravens attack the most. And it's like, hey, if the Browns don't get immediate pressure and get a sack, they get to target that slot corner and they got anybody decent working that slot, it's going to be positive money for them. So, the corner depth is not helping itself either. On top of the fact that the Browns defense is just not getting the turnovers that we need them to get. And again, it's tough to ask the defense for all of this stuff. We're asking so much from our defense. But unlike the offensive side of the ball where we don't have, elite players on that offensive side of the ball, we don't have an elite leader of that offense, right? We do have that on defense. So I feel more comfortable asking way more of the defense than I need of the offense. And that's another example of where the defense needs to step up and be better than they were this week. So I don't want to give the Browns defense off the hook. At the end of the day, the Ravens scored 40 points, and it's never a good thing when a team scores 40 points on you. I understand that like 14, maybe even 18 of those points, not even 18, 17 of those points plus 10 of those, like 27 of these points you can blame on different units, right? Special teams and offense. But still, you want to see your defense be responsible for some points too in a game like this if you're trying to win it. And they didn't do that. So, they need to be better in that aspect as well. Right? Your quarterback's not elite, but you think Jerry Jeudy's really good. So you want Jerry Jeudy to be more than decent in this game. He was decent. Decent wasn't good enough. If you want to beat a team like Baltimore, and next week, if you want to beat a team like the Green Bay Packers, being good, getting your numbers, it's not enough. You need Jerry Jeudy to step up and be an impact player in this game. You need David Njoku to have a big game, right? You need Quinshawn Judkins or Jerome Ford or Dylan Sampson to ignite this run game. That's what it's going to take. You're going to need guys to step up, and nobody stepped up on offense to a sufficient amount. None of your star players gave you star-like performances. Everybody just kind of gave you a pedestrian one, and pedestrian gets your ass beat against an elite team like the Baltimore Ravens. It's really the reality of it. The good thing for the Browns is that scores don't carry over in the next week. You're not going to carry this ass whooping over to Green Bay, but the job is still going to be difficult. The job doesn't get any easier for the Browns defense. The job doesn't get any easier for the Browns offense. They're going to have to try to win a game against a team that's better than them in the first 6 weeks of this season. That's the reality of it. We can bitch and moan and complain about, what's fair, what's not. Our kicker should make a field goal, all this stuff. But the reality is that for the Browns to have a season that they can have the opportunity to do anything with, they're going to have to beat a team that's better than them. And Green Bay's better than you. The Lions, they're better than you. The Vikings, they're better than you right now. The Steelers, they're a better football team than you right now. How do you beat a team that's better than you? One, got to execute a lot cleaner than you did today. Two, you got to get some turnovers. And three, you got to make big plays. Your best players got to make impactful, game-changing plays. That's really it. You need that to happen. You're not going to beat Micah Parsons and the Green Bay Packers and Jordan Love and all of that. You're not going to beat it playing great defense and okay offense. You're going to need elite defense. You're going to need to get some turnovers in that game to win it. You're going to need to have Jerry Jeudy step up and look like a star player. You're going to need David Njoku to step up and look like a star player. You're going to need Quinshawn to have a big game on the ground, or maybe Dylan Sampson. You're going to need that to beat a team that's better than you this year. The same goes for Detroit. The same goes for the Vikings. The same goes for the Steelers in Pittsburgh. You want to – the job's going to be tough, and if you're the Browns and you want to beat any of those teams in these next 4 weeks, I don't care who the quarterback is. It's probably going to be Joe Flacco. But no matter who the quarterback is, we don't got a guy on this roster who's a 40-attempt guy, who's a 50-attempt guy. If we had that guy on the roster, he'd be starting right now. There's no Josh Allen here to save us like there was for the Bills last week against the Ravens. We don't got Joe Burrow coming off the bench, right? We got rookies. You're not going to win games with these dudes throwing the ball 45, 50 times, and that's what happened today. So they got to figure that out. The Browns can't rely on this much passing to move the offense and think that they're going to be successful. So they got to figure out how to get this run game going, and it has to be more than Jack Conklin getting healthy. They got to figure it out, because if you go into Green Bay and you throw against Green Bay 50 times, I don't care who the quarterback is, you're losing that game, and it's going to be embarrassing. You throw the ball 50 times against the Lions, you're going to lose that game, and it's going to be embarrassing. Same thing with the Vikings. Same thing with the Steelers. So got to find a way to be more competitive on the ground, or else this team's not giving itself a chance to win. The defense has to find ways to get turnovers, or else they're not giving themselves a real chance to win. That's it. We can sit here and blame it on one guy or not. All of these things. The special teams unit. What's going on with this? How do we leak 6 points, 4 points last week against the Cincinnati Bengals, where you miss an extra point and you miss a field goal that are very makeable? And then this week, you allow a big punt return, and then you allow a block punt. What's going on with special teams? It was one thing when the kicker missed last week. That's really just on the kicker, right? The special teams coach's job isn't to tell the kicker how to kick. But the special teams coordinator job is to handle these protections on punts. The special teams coordinator's job is to handle punt coverage. And both of those things cost you 10 points this week. You're not going to win games like that. We're not going to win games with the level of talent we have on offense when we're not playing complementary football. It's really that simple. No side of the ball was good enough to beat an elite team like the Baltimore Ravens today. I know Browns fans don't want to hear that, but that's the truth. No side of the ball was good enough. Offense especially definitely wasn't good enough. Led to all the special team stuff, right? They were the main domino that fell today. But the defense wasn't good enough, special teams wasn't good enough, and the offense was a disaster. Not going to beat an elite team with that kind of effort. It's not going to happen. It's never happened in the history of football. Next week you play the Packers, and guess what? Same freaking rules. You don't play Complementary football. If you don't play well on special teams, you don't play well on defense and offense, you're going to get your ass beat again. That's what it is. That's what it is. Joe Flacco today, I think he came into this game wanting to make shit happen. And he made shit happen just now for the Browns. We'll see what they do going forward. I think just because if you look at this schedule, it's just not something you want to throw a rookie quarterback into. You probably avoid playing a rookie quarterback until you get to middle of October. But boy, do it look like we on that path. Like after the first 6 weeks, I don't know what else justifies Joe Flacco being out there if this is just what Joe Flacco looks like. We'll see what happens next week. Maybe Joe has a good game. People do the victory lap. Everything's so week to week nowadays with fans, right? Either a player's terrible one week and then he's the best thing ever the next week. It's so fickle. But we'll see. We'll see. Obviously, you need better performances to win against a team like Baltimore. This is a team that you got to play well against to beat, and you didn't play well against them. It's really that simple.